Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Today, December 13th. I'm so glad that you're going to be joining us for this edition of Reading 365. I am Will Amy, and I'm going to be managing and being your Zoom manager for today. But more importantly, I get to intro the wonderful, the phenomenal, the fabulous reader for today, Dr. Linnie Carter. We're really going to get into a little bit about Dr. Carter later, but I really would like to just preface it by saying you don't want to miss our little chat later because it's just going to be so fantastic to delve into what it is Dr. Carter does. But she is going to be sharing her book choice with us today. I'm going to let her intro her book once we get a chance. But just a reminder, Reading 365 every day, 11 a.m. We will be here until September 30th with a lovely reader and a book for you because we want to share the love of reading with everyone, with the children, with our families who are all at home right now. So thank you again for joining us. And Dr. Carter, I will let you introduce the book that you're going to be reading.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I am so excited to be here with you this morning. I'm going to read Brave Ballerina, the story of Janet Collins, and this book is by Michelle Meadows. This is the girl who danced in the breeze to the swoosh, swoosh, swoosh of towering trees. These are the costumes her dear mama made, costumes for lessons. That's how they paid. These are the point shoes, shiny and pink. Small, quick steps, clink, clink, clink. This is the audience, lined up in rows, cheering her on as she danced on her toes. This is the family that lifted her high, supporting her dreams right up to the sky. This is the back end, low to the ground, which she practiced until it was perfectly round. This is the trio, 3 shades of brown, daredevil dancers, the talk of the town. This is the time, way back in the day, when dance schools turned Black students away. This is the teacher who stood by her side, knees bending deep and arms open wide. This is the streetcar she rode in the dark to see ballerinas making their mark. This is the dancer who found her way in, but learned she would have to lighten her skin. This is the girl with a broken heart, but she bounced right back and made a new start. This is the dancer who kept going strong, bare feet flying to a Spanish song. This is the music, bum, 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 back and forth to the beat of a drum. This is the class, a welcoming place that focus on talent regardless of race. This is a sweat that dripped from her skin when she practiced alone, again and again. This is the dancer who went back for more when her tender toes ached and her muscles felt sore. This is the body expressions so real, gestures and movements that made people feel. This is the man who saw her perform and knew she would take the world by storm. This is the dancer, bold like the sun, a prima ballerina in 1951. The end.
That is fantastic. Brave Ballerina, the story of Janet Collins. Thank you so much for sharing this selection with us. There is so much to unpack there. I know that you said, even as an avid reader, at your position in life, you had just learned about Janet Collins's story in planning to read this book. And it's so phenomenal because Janet herself was the first at what she was trying to do also many, many years ago. So talk a little bit about what it is you were able to gain from this book choice and learning about Janet's story.
Well, I was so pleased that in the 50s, and here we are in 2020, and we have some of the same struggles and battles, but imagine what she was facing as a young girl in the 40s and 50s, being the first and being told to lighten her skin.
Yeah.
And we all know, many of us, about Misty Copeland, who is a beloved ballerina, African American, but she rests on the shoulders of Janet Collins. And I did not know this. My sister is a reading specialist, and this is her profession, and gave me this book as a recommendation. And of course, it was perfect for today. It is so important to be the first. I can relate to that role. I am a vice president at the first and largest and best community college in Pennsylvania.
Yes, ma'am. I was getting to that. That's an excellent segue.
So it's important to be the first, but we cannot be the last. That is important. You have to reach back and bring other Black women, other people along with you, so that you are setting the pace for them to follow you and to do better than you did in a similar capacity.
You couldn't have said it any better, obviously. And in the time that we're in, with this transition that's happening, nationally with government, with us seeing our first female vice president of African-American descent, obviously, it is so huge to be represented. And we were talking about this a little before, it's insane to us. It's mind-blowing that the first are still happening. And it's 2020, and 2012 for you, and 2015 for Misty Copeland in her respect, in her regard, and what she does artistry wise. So it's great to see first. It's excellent to then propel that into always seeing someone represent you, at these different phases. So HAC, and if you don't know what HAC is, it's the abbreviation for Harrisburg Area Community College. Harrisburg is both of our adopted cities. We're not originally from here, but we love it dearly.
Yes.
And I speak great things for Harrisburg. HAC has done a phenomenal job, as you said, being the first, being the best, one of the largest in the state of Pennsylvania. And your role as the Vice President of College Advancement, your executive director, the dual hattage we got going on, or as the executive director of the HAC Foundation. How do you find that even as being the first, everything that you're seeing, the changes that you're seeing, the advancement and movements that are being made are very much on scale and on par with what we need to see? I mean, it's never too late to do what's right. So obviously getting us to these positions where we can affect change is what we want to do.
Absolutely. When I was hired at HAC in 2012, I was the first ever Black woman vice president in the history of the organization. We were founded in 1964. So in 2012, I was the first. There are now 2 Black women vice presidents at HAC. My colleague, Dr. Arminta Hinton, is phenomenal, but I was the first. And when you think about it, why did it take so long? And it happened under our current president, who was phenomenal, Dr. Ski, we called him, who is known for hiring brilliant Black women and knows the power. And one of my favorite hashtags is hire Black women,
Yes.
because we make things happen. And so not only does he hire brilliant, bold, beautiful Black women, he empowers us to speak our piece. Sometimes people will be hired in positions as window dressing will. You want to be able to check off a box saying that you've hired Black women, but then you mute them and you police and tone police them. Well, he doesn't do it. He encourages us to be authentic and bold, and speak our truth. And he advocates for us. As we know, he rides for us. We know, ride or die, he rides for us. And so I tell my mentees, you get to choose who you work for. And what that means is we also know representation matters, which is why this book was so important.
Huge.
While I serve all students at HAC, and I have done that for 8 years, it does matter to me and our Black female students to see someone like me and my sister VP in these positions, because people do want to go into organizations and see people who look like them. That is a natural desire, and we need not apologize for, because every demographic wants there to be representation for us, and we don't deserve anything less. So before COVID, I might be, about to walk into the building from a parking lot, and I would see Black female students, and I would introduce myself and say I'm Dr. Carter. And you would see, when I would tell them I was a vice president at HAC, you would see their faces light up, because they think, I didn't know that someone like you was here. Because to see someone who looks like you in the position of leadership, you feel like you have an ally, and you feel a sense of community and kinship. And so I tell people, there's an extra pep in your step when you walk onto any organization and see someone who looks like you. When I was an undergraduate student, we had a Black female vice president at Virginia Commonwealth University. Go Rams. And it was a sense of pride to see Dr. Grace E. Harris in her role, and knowing that she was like me, a point of pride. And so all of those things matter. But again, as we said, I will not be the last, and there are now 2 of us. Dr. Hinton was just hired this year. But I am setting the table now for other Black women to come behind me and do better than the work that we're doing today in 2020.
Yeah, we also spoke about how, the number and the quantity doesn't matter. It's the quality of the individual. So it's a dual sword when you're able to not only pack that power of being the first, and then make it so monumental, the impact that you're having. Already, as you said, there is a second. And so it's great to see. It's inspiring. I felt that today was the perfect platform, given the book you've chosen, to just kind of dig into it a little bit deeper. The other thing that I love about HAC is the school's motto is truth to knowledge. If I'm saying it correctly, my Latin's a little rusty, but
that's okay. It's close. Yes.
So it's great to understand the importance of having knowledge always be at the forefront. We cannot change anything until we're informed about it, until it's in front of us and available to us. So that knowledge is necessary. And that's also brought on by the love of reading. I know that you said as a young girl, you were ahead of the curve, trying to read books, higher than your reading level, and, trying to get the librarian to look the other way with the little racist. But it's because you wanted to fuel that love of reading. So even as a small child, as you said, the love was there. Talk to me a little bit about how reading has impacted, your life and the choices that you've made, and how reading is so fundamental and key to what you do.
Reading is so important. It is really the cornerstone of learning, lifelong learning and growing. And when I think about my profession, so at HAC, my team and I handle advertising, PR, fundraising, branding, marketing, web development, special events, alumni affairs for all 5 campuses, because again, we have 17,000 students at 5 campuses. We're the largest in Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And reading is everything. It's how I grow. It's how I comprehend. It's how I teach and lead. And when I think about reading, it is really the cornerstone of my knowledge. I could not do what I do. It has positively impacted my public speaking, my ability to comprehend, analyze, and synthesize information. Whenever, we're communicating with people from all walks of life. So if you are a HAC student, you could be the first in your family to graduate from college or even attend college in the first place. I'm interacting with donors who are giving us very generous sums of money. We're interacting with the media. So I have to be able to read, which informs my communication, oral, written, and visual. And so and written. I could not imagine life without books.
Oh, wow.
And you know, self-care is really important right now, Will. So whenever I need to do some really deep self-care, I turn off social media, turn off the TV, and get a good book, and I escape.
Ooh, that's powerful. I think that's an added piece that a lot of folks need to definitely delve into, is getting that inner kind of peace going sometimes. And reading does that. It allows you to kind of leave all the external stuff, you know, for a little bit, and just kind of get in your head, get into that mode of, you know, learning a little bit more, reaching into areas that you may not have always had interest. It fuels so many other things that I think that it's awesome that that love was there for you early. And now you get to impart that obviously on your students, on your peers. So the final thing that I thought was super interesting, you said that you have a sister, because you know the sister bond is always a big thing for me, and you said that she's a reading specialist, right?
I love my sister, my baby. So she's brilliant. You know, she gave me some tips about today. She taught me how to hold the book so that our babies could see the pictures. And she said, when you're, you know, point your finger on certain pages, people may think, well, you just hold up a book. Well, she gave me some tips, and I hope that they were helpful today. But she is so great. The schools that she serves, she's in Virginia. They have standards of learning in Virginia. And so she has worked at schools where, as the reading specialist, they had some of the highest scores in the state of Pennsylvania in terms of reading. Wow. She has two girls, they're 10 and 14. The 14-year-old, when she was much younger, was reading on a freshman high school level. She was like 10, reading on a freshman high school level. Both of her kids are gifted. She read to them when she was pregnant with them. So we have seen the power of reading to them when you're carrying the babies until now. And so she gets to impart a love into her girls at 10 and 14 that our mama imparted into us. And she's my baby sister, so she's 5 years younger. So this is what we know. Can you imagine? So little girl's going to the library, and now this is what she does for a living. And we're both educators, so it's quite special. And our mom really planted that seed. And I have to tell you that our parents always enforce the importance of education. Neither of our parents have a high school, a college. They have a college degree, but they wanted more for their children and really pushed us to pursue higher education. But it all started with the love of reading. So I just want to remind everyone, encourage the babies to read to them. And there's so many benefits from it. There is not one negative aspect about reading, not a one.
I was going to say, it seems to me one of these crucial and key elements and components to someone's life where there's no harm to it. You literally can't do any wrong by getting into a good book, which is phenomenal, because there's so many things, you know, good chips kind of sometimes have a downfall, but a good book, always a good thing. And again, I thank you so much for imparting so much of this wisdom on us, because it does sound like it started very early, and then it was fostered by wonderful parents, grandparents. I know we talked about Linnie being your grandmother's name, which is something that you kind of got to live up to, which is also something we have in common, being named by older family members. So I feel like your book choice, your position in self, you know, the moves that you've made that have led you to this point, even with joining us today. The American Literacy Corp cannot thank you enough for the time that you spend volunteering with us. We appreciate it so much. But we're about to see a shift in 2021. Our new transition of power, as I said, also brings in the first Black female vice president. Now, while you were busy being a lead and making all these great moves for someone else, you got to see it also on a broader scale. So how does that feel, being able to witness that kind of change happening as you yourself are impacting change?
It feels amazing that she is the first ever woman vice president of our great nation, who happens to also be Black and also Indian. Yeah. So we really hit the jackpot, and we didn't even mention how brilliant she is.
Oh yeah, we can.
And how bold she is. She is going to do the healing, and one of the things that I have had to remind people is she's not God, and so we cannot put unrealistic expectations on her and President-elect Biden, but we will hold them accountable. But when I tell you how proud I am that we get to put her as a symbol of hope for girls throughout the world, especially those who look like us, that anything is possible. You too can go and be vice president. And in fact, you will and can be the president of this great land. It's a point of pride, and I'm glad that I saw it. And who better than Vice President-elect Kamala Harris? So really, I'm so proud of her, and I support her. I would hold her accountable, but I will not put undue expectations on her because she is a human being.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, just as we said, it's great to see it there, but there are people too, we have expectations of them. We definitely want to see certain successes happen. And like you said, accountability is key. It's great for me, I'll be 40 next year, and to see it happen, like you said, it's phenomenal. Representation does in fact matter. If you don't believe that, go to work one day and hope to look around and see no one that looks like you. Like, that's not the funnest thing. That's not the best position to be in. You want to see it. You want to see that success. And as you said, it's great that we'll both be able to witness something like that happen. So final, I don't want to hold you too long because I know today's Sunday. It's probably a busy day. The weather's great. Our readers are tuned in and enjoying the conversation. Lastly, Harrisburg as a whole, this area, I feel benefits and can continue to benefit from the partnership from HAC and folks like the ALC that will further that drive and love of reading in our Harrisburg school districts, in all the local districts. Are there any things that you would suggest for our parents out there or for our supporting family members out there, just quick and easy ways that, they can promote reading in their everyday, like something that you could do? For me, I have a 3-year-old. So while we're in the grocery store, I'm having her read labels, or I'm having her look at, what prices are to get the numbers out there. That kind of push is key. And since everyone's home and everyone's kind of, limited a little bit in this COVID environment, any things that you would suggest, or maybe tips that you've stolen from your sister, since she's a reading specialist, that you would put out there as best practices to kind of just further that, keep it going?
Absolutely. First of all, the babies like our cell phones, right? So put some books on the cell phones when they're strolling through. Download some children's books and let them read them, even if it's picture books. They're out there, right? Yeah. So that's one thing. These types of programs, which I do commend you for being a part of this is so special. Social media is so powerful. They're good, bad and ugly, but this is beautiful. Put those babies in front of a computer and let them watch people read to them. You read to them. And we know how busy parents are, but as you saw with this beautiful book, I don't think it was even 10 minutes. It doesn't take long, and it's impactful. I would say if you can carve out 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes before they go to bed, let reading be a part of their routine in the morning when they get started, and in the evening. And there are so many age appropriate books out there. And for babies of color, there are a lot of books, more now than ever before, for subjects in the books who look like them. And for our white friends and family members, expose your children to people of color in positive ways through books as well, so that they too can grow up to embrace inclusion, diversity, and belonging. But let these be books, and I do believe that at that age, these books need to have a happy ending. Our babies are gonna grow up and face so much turmoil that they shouldn't have to face. But I would say let the books early on have a positive ending, so that they can be children and be innocent for as long as possible before we thrust them into the world that is not gonna always have a positive ending.
Oh my goodness, I don't even know what I could have done without today. I am so grateful for you and for your time and your talent and what it is you represent and the hard work that you're putting out there for us at HAC in the Harrisburg area. Thank you so much, Dr. Linnie Carter. If I could let you take a bow, I would. On Zoom, it's kind of a little tough. But thank you everyone out there also for joining us for this edition of Reading 365. As I said, this is brought to you by the American Literacy Corporation. We are going to be here every day at 11 a.m. until September 30th, and we are going to read to you. And if you don't get a chance to join us, you will obviously have the option to catch us on rewatch. We will be on Facebook. So thank you again for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. The weather is lovely out, and happy holidays, but we'll see you back here tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Thank you, everyone.